All right, today's lesson is on the physics hinge entity. And this is an entity that creates a physics-based hinge to allow objects to swing naturally, kind of, based on physics. You can use it for doors, panels, swinging lights, I don't know, just about anything. It is locked to a single axis, so you maybe wouldn't want to do like a swinging light or like a zombie on a rope that swings around, because this is going to be locked to a single hinged axis. But it's very simple to set up, and a good example of it in use in the game is on the train station level here. So this is the actual Valve train station level from Half-Life. So there's Gordon. And the turnstile here that you go through as you're making your way through the level, if you guys remember all of this. So that turnstile is actually a physics hinge, and the turnstile itself is not a prop. It's just some brushes that are put together. So I'll show you how to do both variations using a prop or a brush-based entity that you create yourself. So let's switch over to my demonstration map here. All right, so I've got three different things that are set up on hinges here, and the carousel, which you may have seen in the first level. I've got this door right here, and then I've got this swinging, I don't know, just platform thingy, whatever it is, like swinging piece of wood. So let me throw the level up real quick so you can see it. Let's reload it. My fader's in there, so we got to talk for 5 seconds. So that's the fader. Okay, so here's all the stuff we did last week. So here's the carousel. It's kind of, if you bump it, you can see it start to rotate. Here's the wooden one. You can see it's free swinging, and then same thing with this guy right here. If I bump it, it swings. Now, we can play around with adjusting the friction and all that on these. I'll let you kind of experiment with that. But you can see these things, it's a totally different way to do doors. They will impact with collision in the world, so this wouldn't swing all the way around if there was something to stop it on the other side. Same thing with this guy here. It could, if it bumps into something, it'll stop and it won't continue swinging. You can see this has some friction on it, so if I get it spinning, it'll stop. This is kind of hard to get spinning because there isn't like any handles on it or anything like that. All right, so very simple object to set up. So let's go back to the editor. So there's two parts to it. There's the hinge, and then there's the object that spins. So for the hinge, you're going to go to your entity tool. You're going to come over here. It's a physics hinge. It's abbreviated as phys hinge. Drop it in. Open it up. Give it a name. And then for the purposes of today's lesson, all we really are concerned with is entity 1 and entity 2. So in this case, we're going to use this as the first entity and the other object as a second entity. So you could leave the first one blank. I always put my attached entity into entity 2. You don't have to. I just do it because I just think of entity 1 being this right here, so I leave it blank. And then I put my attached entity into entity 2. So we're not going to attach two separate physics entities today. We're simply going to use the hinge as one part and the object as the other part. So pretty simple. So we've got this guy set up. Now when you look at this, the hinge, if you look into your two-dimensional views, what you're going to see is, let me move this into an area where we can see it by itself. There's a little dot in the middle there, or circle, I guess. So that circle is what we call a helper. And if you put your mouse over it and you drag it out, you're going to get a line. And then if we find the object here, you're going to see that there's a line with a little purple ball at the end. This represents the hinge. So if I take it straight up, like I've done here, what that tells me is that this hinge goes straight up and down, and this thing is going to rotate on this axis. If you look at my little door here, you can see the little hinge. The line goes straight up on the edge of the door, so that's why this rotates in the way it does. If we look at this one, we can see, there it is, there's the purple ball. It's kind of buried inside the wood here. There it is. You can kind of see it right there. So this one, the purple ball goes this way. So this becomes the hinge. So the direction that you put the helper creates the hinge. So think of this as a long, like piano hinge, and we attach objects to that. Now the second part of this is really simple. So you've got your hinge. Okay, so I actually didn't even name this one. I'll go ahead and name it hinge 1. Okay. So here's the object. Now we're going to pick a physics prop, okay? So this is actually a prop physics override because this was not a physics prop. So I use the physics override to force this to be a physics prop. Remember, we have that option. If you want to use an object that's not prop physics, you just simply use the physics override. So pretty much anything in the game can be a physics prop using this method. So on the prop, this is just a regular, you click on your entity button here. Drop it on the ground. Well, let's select it here, prop. And we're going to do a physics. Drop it on the ground. You're going to go to your world model. Pick whatever you want. And if we look under info here, you'll see that this is not checked for physics. Okay, remember these tabs? So physics is not checked here. So if I want to use this, what I need to do is I'll have to come in here and switch it to physics override. That will force this object to become a physics prop. For the prop, all you have to do is, there's two things. It has to be a physics. So it's either going to be physics or physics override. This object has to have physics enabled on it. The second thing you have to do is just name it. So I'll call this metal door. Apply. And then we're going to take this door and we're going to attach it just by lining it up where we want this hinge to go. So if I take this little door thing here and I kind of move it around, wherever this line passes through is where its physical attachment's going to be to the hinge. Now we'll go back to the hinge where it says entity 2. And like I said, I always use entity 2. You can use entity 1, it doesn't matter. I use entity 2 just because it just keeps my brain straight. This is in my brain entity 1, this is entity 2. In a future lesson we might go over how to connect multiple entities together, but for today we're just doing a simple single hinged point. Okay, so here's my entity. I'm going to find metal door, click apply, and that's it. Those two objects are now connected. So let me go ahead and move these up a little bit so that they're in a little bit better position for us to look at. So let me get this guy lined up here. There's that. Let's see, I think we'll move it forward just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and I'll lift it up. And then just for the sake of demonstration, I am going to go ahead and swing this door so that it's got a little bit of momentum going to it when it comes into the game. Okay, there we go. That should be fine. Alright, so that is how you set up a physics prop. Now, let's say there wasn't a prop. Maybe I wanted to do something like the turnstile inside the game. So all you do for that is you set up your hinge exactly the way we did, and then for the piece that's attached, you're going to take your block tool, okay, and you make whatever you want. And it could be, multiple shapes. It doesn't really matter. So you're going to make whatever shape you want, and just for an example, if you look back at their turnstile here, this is a whole bunch of brushes that they connected. Okay, a whole bunch of brushes. So let's go back to our sample. All right, so say I wanted this and another piece in the front of it here. So let's go to my block tool. Maybe I wanted a board across it or something. All right, so I've got a couple pieces here. So what I'm going to do is hold down Control to select multiple pieces. If you've only got one piece, all you have to do is click on it. Okay? So if you've got multiple pieces, hold Control, select them. If you've just got one, just click it like normal. Okay? So I've got these guys. I'm going to come over here, right click like we've done before. So I'm going to right click on it. You have to do it in your two-dimensional view. I see students all the time right clicking over here and it doesn't work. It has to be in the 2D view. Right click, tie to entity. The type is going to be function fizzbox. Click apply. Okay. So now this object is a physics enabled object. You can see it's no longer just a block. It's got the little purple ball in the middle, which tells me it's an entity of some kind. So if you look at this guy, he's got the same little purple block or ball in the middle. So that's it. So now this can be attached to one of these the exact same way we did this. Okay, so really simple. So there's two steps to it. You put in your physics hinge and you move the little ball that's in the center in the direction to create the hinge. So there's my purple ball right there. So I had taken it from in here and I moved it up. So that creates my hinge. Then you take the object that you want. Let's look at this one. Okay, so this is a physics prop. It's the carousel from the game. I named it carousel. Here's my hinge. I just drew the hinge up to define the axis that the hinge is going to spin on. Okay. Here, I didn't even name this one. You know, I should have, but I will name it now. There we go. Okay, so entity 2, this is the attached object, which is the carousel. And that's it. This is now hinged to this object right here. So for your assignment, I would like you to make 3 objects that are hinged. I would like a prop physics, like a native prop physics. So what I mean by that is an object that on the info tab has physics enabled. Okay, so it's a native physics prop. I would also like you to do one hinged object, like this door right here, that is a physics override. And the way we can tell that is when we look at the prop on the info tab right here, physics is not checked. Okay, so I need you to do an override on it. And then your third example, I want you to just make a simple box or a window or something out of a block tool, make it a brush, and then I want you to do a tie to entity, make it a func fizzbox, and then I want you to attach that to a hinge. So we've got 3 different examples here. We've got a physics prop, a physics override prop, this guy right here, and then a func fizzbox. So that'll give you the 3 probably most common ways that you would use this in the game. All right? So that is your assignment for today.